This is Hot Seat with Violet Gonda, the program that puts the newsmakers in the spotlight and confronts the tough issues relating to Africa. So who's in the hot seat? Hello everyone, it's good to be back with the program Hot Seat. My name is Violet Gonda. And my first guest in this new series is Zimbabwean politician and businessman Temba Mliswa, who's here to give us his views on the just ended ZANU-PF conference and, of course, the general political climate in the country. As a former member of ZANU-PF, Mr. Mliswa will give us his perspectives and insider knowledge to help us get a more nuanced view of the political landscape in the country. Welcome on the program, Mr. Mliswa.
Thank you very much. Let me just add one more title, which is permanent now. You're right, former member of parliament, a businessman, a traditional leader, now called Sabhuku Temba. I'm a village head, so I'm a traditional leader. That's my name for life until I die.
Okay, Magadini Sabhuku Mliswa. But let's start with the credibility question. You are regarded as a serial flip-flopper by some of your critics, who you have been an independent MP, then ZANU-PF member, and others have accused you of corruption, taking companies and commercial farms. So your initial thoughts on how you're viewed by a significant number of the population in Zimbabwe?
Success breeds enemies. That's what my father always said to me. So I think I'm very successful. I'm a successful businessman. And if indeed I'm corrupt, why have they not reported to the police, to the Anti-Corruption Commission, which is there, to the Prosecutor General's office, to the Attorney General's office? In terms of grabbing farms, it was a program that the government initiated. That was the land reform program which they initiated. Most are beneficiaries, and people still want to be beneficiaries of it. It was the reason why Zimbabwe went to war, so that their people could have land, could have wealth. So it's a national program which was open to everyone, and I happened to benefit from it because my father also went to the struggle. He was in Zambia, he was in ZAPU, worked with Joshua Nkomo, with many others, and the point of liberating this economic and land is a key asset in terms of economic emancipation. I still challenge those who believe I'm corrupt or I've done things wrongly to still go to the rightful officers who can deal with that. Because it's sad, if they say I'm corrupt and I don't do things right, why do they then allow me to be a legislator? Why do people still vote for me? Why was I an independent member of parliament twice? And it's historic in this country that after being expelled from ZANU-PF, I stood independent.
But how do you respond to people who say the system controls, these institutions that you have pointed out, like the Anti-Corruption Commission, or even the police is selective in who they arrest?
I have been arrested over 70 times. 70 times. I don't know if there's anybody else, but I still was said to be part of the system. So how could I be arrested that many times if I was part of the system? Just a month ago, I was arrested again. I was incarcerated. I had to be out on bail. So if I was part of the system and I was benefited from the system, why would I be arrested over 70 times? Acquitted over 70 times? The system must protect me because I'm part of it. We must reason at times. And I've got children. I've got responsibility. Even Morgan Tsvangirai was never arrested that many times. Even Nelson Chamisa.
How do you view the role that you are playing now? Because there are some quarters that say you are a treasure hunter and have been paid to sanitize people like President Mnangagwa.
You see, the problem is that no one has ever shown evidence on how much money I've been paid. The figures they talk about that I've been paid $1 million by the president, I would love $1 million. Where is it? Where is the proof? The onus is on those who accuse me of being paid to show proof. To show proof that I've been paid. We cannot have a situation where we constantly speculate. Despite what people said about me, being a criminal, being this and that, how come people had confidence in still electing me to be a legislator? I'm the only person in 7 years who was elected 3 times. in 7 years. Yet 3 times is 15 years. So it means 3 terms. The only person in the history of this country. I was expelled from ZANU-PF 2013. I was outspoken. I stood as an independent 2016. I won. I went 2018 for the election. I won. 2023, I went for the election. I lost. I conceded, and I'm out of it. Who in the country has ever done that? I stood in a rural constituency and won. I stood in an urban constituency and won. This is history which is there, which people don't talk about. So indeed, if I was probably not honest with the rural constituency, but how come the urban constituency, which is more enlightened, still supported me?
Okay, so of course we are here today to talk about the succession issue in ZANU-PF, the rise of some key members like Kuda Tagwirei and the fate of Vice President Chiwenga. With that in mind, can you begin by telling our audience what makes you an expert on this topic and why what you say should be believed?
I'm not an expert, I'm an analyst because of experience. I was in ZANU-PF as the provincial secretary for lands during the land reform in Marsh West. Okay. I was the DCC chairman for ZANU-PF for Urungwe district, the biggest district in Marsh West. I then became the chairperson for the entire province, the youngest chairperson, and sat on the central committee. I had that experience. In having that experience, it's pretty clear that I know a lot of what goes on. I was having these positions when I don't even come from that region. This is Mashonaland West. The region that I come from is Shurugwi in Midlands. But people still had confidence in entrusting me to be the chairperson of the province. Remember, Marsh West province is where the former late President Robert Mugabe hailed from. And I was not his tribesman. I was not his clansman. But I still was voted by the people. He accepted that democracy. But they still fought me to expel me from the party. And if you're expelled from ZANU-PF, they say you must keep quiet and come back slowly. But I said, no, the people still want me to lead them. I'm going to stand as an independent. And I stood as an independent and won. I stood as an independent twice, again, and won. So to me, it's the faith that people have in me. It's what I'm prepared to sacrifice for people. It's about the agenda of national interest. And the problem in ZANU-PF is that people are not prepared to tell the truth. I had to come out and say to the vice president, it's good you've brought up the issues of corruption. I sit on the African Parliamentary Network Against Corruption, which is Africa Continental, as a vice president. I sit on the Southern African Parliamentary Network Against Corruption, which is the SADC one, as the chairman of it. I was the chairman of the African Parliamentary Network Against Corruption in the Parliament of Zimbabwe. I've been entrusted to do that because they know I speak the truth. They know that I'm not whipped. And the vice president, with due respect, cannot talk about corruption when his hands are dirty. His hands
Okay. So let me just let us pause there because we do want to talk about the corruption issue. But before we go there, can you at least elaborate on the current state of unity within ZANU-PF?
It's a generational consensus. Just like we had a national consensus in making sure that the people marched. That's the generational consensus that Kuda Tagwirei must make it because he's young. We've given our liberators time to liberate us from an economic point of view. But they've not done what we expect them to do. They've done their best, but it's about time that we also took over, who don't have the liberation history, but have got economic ability to be able to transform the country, to equally transform their few fortunes. So it's about a generational consensus which you cannot stop. That is the reason why with the opposition, they had Nelson Chamisa, there was Morgan Tsvangirai who was there. They moved from the late Morgan Tsvangirai to Nelson Chamisa. Now, ZANU-PF has moved to Kuda Tagwirei. The Frelimo in Mozambique has got Chapo. His Excellency President Chapo. He was never part of the struggle at all. He was not, but he's young. And he made it. And he was supported by people who were part of the liberation. Kuda Tagwirei will also be supported by people who are part of the liberation. And the good thing about it, they must mentor him. It's important that ZANU is very clear in its transition. is in transformation. Why there's been a problem in ZANU-PF is that the succession issue is taboo. But now we are saying it's not taboo. We want Kuda Tagwirei to be the president. We want him to be backed up by people who advise him. The constitution has been amended to have a woman as a president to deal with the gender issue. I would say Opa becomes vice president. Chris Mchangwa becomes vice president. The Speaker Jacob Mdenda becomes vice president or VP Sibanda. The regional balance is there and they're giving advice. At the same time, the president himself is able to guide them in terms of how they must go about. He becomes an advisor. We cannot have a situation where the succession issue is taboo, yet we suffer, yet there's division. We must be clear about it, and we are going to make it clear. That's why for the first time, I've told you my vision in terms of the leadership in Zimbabwe. It might be controversial, but somebody must throw something in the ring. I've thrown it in the ring and say regional balance is there. And on the southern region, we've got advocate the Speaker Mdenda or slash Valerius Banda if he retires and wants to come into politics. So that's a discussion.
But Mr. Mliswa, is this your wish list? The reason why I'm asking that is we have the Vice President Constantino Chiwenga and his faction raising issues about term limits. And so can you respond to that and also give us a brief about what key issues were actually addressed at the just ended ZANU-PF conference?
The Vice President he has no political capital. He's not a politician. And for him to become the president of this country, he must be supported by the party structures. The party structures are political. And he's not at all supported by the party structures. First of all, his own province, which is Marsh East, which is chaired by Honorable Garwe, they don't see eye to eye. He does not attend meetings. He's a soldier. A soldier is not a politician. He has to go at ward level. He has to go at village level. He has to go at ward level. He has to go at constituency level. He has to go at district level. He has to go at provincial level, then national level. These are the structures. I've never seen him at village level. I've never seen him at ward level. I've never seen him at constituency level. I've never seen him at provincial level. All I've seen him is in the central committee and in the Politburo lobbying for himself. When you have people, they lobby for you. They don't lobby. You don't lobby for yourself. He's lobbying for himself. He has got nobody behind him. It's the same thing as a 30-ton trucker with a head and with an empty load, but it's still moving. He has no political capital. So to me, if at all he had political capital, why did him and his people not object to agenda, to resolution number 1 of ZANU-PF at the last conference in Bulawayo? You stand up. Your people stand up and say, Chairman, I object to resolution number 1, 2030. He was sitting in there. He did not object it. He adopted it. He did not say anything. The minutes are there. And then we go to the Politburo again, to the Central Committee. There's nobody who stood up with him. He speaks on his own. Politics.
But it's interesting that you said he is a soldier and that he's not a politician. Are you only realizing that now that he is a soldier? If so, why was he made vice president? Why was he put in government if he's just a soldier?
That is the prerogative of the president to appoint. The vice president is not elected. He's not elected. He's appointed. And he serves at the mercy of the president. That's why he has to be loyal to the president. And he has to work well with the president so that he is endorsed by the sitting president who is a politician, who's a seasoned politician for many years. His Excellency, President Mnangagwa, must be the one to say, I've brought this person to you. He's not strong politically, but I want you to work with him. You don't force your way into power. In the military, there's no elections. You are appointed. In politics, you are elected.
But is it really true that he doesn't have support when he's got war veterans who've come out supporting him? What are the realistic chances of Chiwenga taking over leadership?
I think it was naive on his part to think that being a vice president is powerful. It's not. If anything, he was castrated. Because as Commander Defense Forces, you have power. You're probably the second most powerful person in the country after the president. Because the president is the president and commander in chief of the defense forces. And you are commander defense forces. The vice president is not vice president and deputy commander in chief of the defense forces. He's not. So the commander in chief has and reports directly to the president and does not have to ask anybody. He does not have to go through the minister. Though there's a minister on top of them, it's courteous of him to go to the minister. That's how powerful the commander defense forces is. And he let a more powerful position and went for a weaker position. He is naive. He was misguided. He was misinformed to think that when you're vice president, you'll be president. You serve at the mercy of the president. You are appointed by the president, and the president can fire you anytime. He has no political capital at all. He has no political capital at all because the very same war veterans that he relies on and the very same soldiers that he relies on, he is not respected because the war veterans have suffered, yet he has been in key positions to uplift their welfare. The war veterans' welfare has been a mess. Where has he been to talk about it? He has been with these comrades in the struggle, his own friends. We are young. When we're in power, we are not at all connected to these war veterans. So we are likely not to do what we are supposed to do for them. But one who has been with them, one who has led with them, must never forget the foot soldiers. He forgot soldiers. The army, he did not do good for the ordinary soldier. The army is not generals. The generals don't go to war. They are strategists. It's the foot soldier who goes to war. The army
But
too.
what but
The
what
foot
what
soldier.
what has the current president done for the foot soldiers or for the war veterans? Because this is also part of the government's responsibilities to look out, to look at the welfare of war veterans and the soldiers in the army. So how can one person who's vice president right now, what can he do about this? And then secondly, still on the issue of Chiwenga, I think he's on record saying that soon after the 2017 coup, or around that time, that he nearly died. He suffered, fighting to remove Mugabe in the coup that took place in 2017. So when you say you describe him as a completely useless person, he doesn't see himself as that. He sees himself as having done quite a lot for this country, even in recent years.
But first of all, I did not say he's useless. Secondly, he's not a kingmaker. He was not a kingmaker for that. Sorry to say, was not. I was heavily involved in that. You've got to understand that the vice president and the former first lady, Grace Mugabe, come from the same village. They've got the same totem. They're like brother and sister. When they meet, Makadini and Makadini Tete. Did you know that? No, you see, it's really a facade more than anything else. If you also track back to his history in the struggle, it's not as decorated as he puts it. I'm sure Comrade Mchangwa has been very clear to say some of these people went to the struggle because they had committed crimes, so they were running away. They said they were this and that. The real people who really fought in the struggle, the ordinary war veteran, doesn't talk about what they did and so forth. So to me, I think being in that proposition again, does not mean that you are the best soldier, you are the best commander. No, you had three commanders in the liberation struggle. You also had Zipra that also fought. That had people like Nikita Mangena, Lookout Masuku, Dumiso Dabengwa, Ambrose Mtiniri, Kembo Mahadi, all these people again were also fighting for Zimbabwe on another front, but we never hear about it. But you also had the likes of Josiah Tongogara, the general, Mjuru, the late Rex, all of them are late. You never heard them bragging and so forth, yet they were more superior than him. They could have said, we brought this country to you and so forth, but they never said that. You had people like the late Chief Air Marshal Perenshiri, who was the commander of Tete. You had the thing late Commissioner General of Prisons, Paradise Mondi, who was the commander of Manica. You had Comrade Mabenge, who was the commander of Gaza. These are provinces which they were commanders moving forward and leading. A commander is leading. They were not sitting in the office. Where did he lead? Which province did he lead the war? It's one thing sitting in an office, it's another thing leading a war, being in the front as a commander.
Okay,
So to me, there are all these distortions. And at times you are lucky to be put there. He was put there by the former commander of the army, Rex Nongo, because they came from the same area.
yeah. So, but if you're using those issues as a reason for one to be in a leadership position, the same can be asked about the current president. You know, how did he become president? Wasn't he put there because of the coup, as a result of the coup?
No, he was a politician. His history in the struggle is known. He was the first. He worked with the president as the chief of staff for the president Mugabe during the struggle. He was appointed by the late General Tongogara, who said you have to work with this person. It's well known. Not only that, he was also the Joint Operations Command after the liberation struggle, which was all the army, the air force, the police, the CIO, the prisons. He chaired that. And these guys were not even, Chiwenga was not even in the echelons, he was not even a commander. He did not even sit on that joke. You had Mjuru, Tungamirai, and all other people and so forth who were that lot that brought about the peace needed, because there was a fear of terrorism happening after the white government was out. But he managed it well. It was a smooth transition and so forth. So history speaks about him having been the first national minister of state security. And he was senior to all of them. As a politician, he was their boss, if I have to say. In him being the boss, he studied and was able to understand statecraft. They've always said he's a CIO. He will always be a CIO. He will always be a security person. No wonder why they say he plays the long game. No wonder why they say he can talk to anybody. There was no assassination. There was assassination which was supposed to happen to Mugabe. He saved Mugabe because he was that. He's never got up on top of a mountain to say, but after the struggle, I saved Mugabe because of an assassination which the Rhodesians wanted to do.
But just on the topic of the leadership qualities, you did mention that Mr. Tagwirei is a potential leader. But given the allegations of corruption and other issues that surround Mr. Tagwirei, is quite a controversial character in Zimbabwe. How should leadership succession be managed then within ZANU-PF with all these allegations that surround someone like Mr. Tagwirei? And what's his claim to fame?
You see, to me, I agree with you. All the allegations that the vice president talked about, he's also involved. I've questioned him, and I will not stop questioning him that, can you come clear on this? Did Chiwenga give you over $1 million on your wedding? He's quiet. Did Kuda Tagwirei sponsor Restore Legacy? All the 5 million liters he gave to the army, the money he gave to the army for food, the money he gave to the party for food. He was working with him. Kuda was working with the president. Okay, while he was away, he remained the key strategist, ED, when he was away. But Kuda was talking to him, at the same time talking to Chiwenga. Chiwenga did not directly talk to the president. President was speaking through to Kuda Tagwirei. Kuda had become an emissary for most of the generals to get to Chiwenga. They were that close. As you heard Chris Mtangwa's interview, that they actually, were that close that they actually became a tag team to get Mtangwa fired as special advisor. That's a story for another day. But Mtangwa says, I don't have issues. So the Command Agriculture, the army was involved. But he accuses him of being corrupt when the army was involved, when he was involved himself, when he himself benefited from Command Agriculture. The army was given fuel, okay, by Trafigura a company that Kuda was part of through Puma. They were supplying to the army. And in supplying to the army, how come suddenly he's corrupt? How many years? 10 years or 12 years later, you say the guy is corrupt, or it's because he's not giving you what you expect him to give you. The same way it was with Chivayo. He went and asked for 350,000. 450,000 to pay for apartments for his 3 kids. He was given 300,000. 150,000 he was not given. And within 2 months, he had been given over $1 million. And Chivayo could not sustain that anymore and didn't have the balance of the 150 million. That's where things went wrong. I've asked him that, he has not answered. So if you truly want to be president, you are forced to answer to that. Asset declaration, source of funds, source of income, lifestyle audit. That's the president we are looking for who will be able to do that. And we're now looking forward for Kuda as well.
But you're not answering my question, Mr. Mliswa. I'm asking you. You've talked about Vice President Chiwenga, and you've narrated all these issues about corruption and how he's corrupt. But what about Kuda Tagwirei? Because we know that he's a businessman who will take over, according to you. But what about the fact that he is accused of corruption? What's his source of income? Where is this issue of asset declaration that you have mentioned?
Those allegations, and they were responded to in the last Politburo meeting by the Minister of Justice and Parliamentary Affairs, Honorable Ziambi. They were responded to, and he was told point blank that he lied. He had no evidence. He had no evidence. And why did he not go to the police? Why did he not go to ZAC? Because the Politburo is not the organ that investigates corruption. They are agents which he himself can call and say to the chairman of the Anti-Corruption Commission, there are these allegations. Can you investigate them? He went with allegations which had not been investigated, which are also subject to also being investigated. And he must pursue that. Kuda has appeared before portfolio committees in Parliament. I was there. One chaired by Tendai Biti, the public accounts, where it was alleged $3 billion had gone missing. That inquiry did not even get the evidence of the $3 billion which went missing. Fuel again before the Energy Committee. Again, he appeared before it. He cleared himself. So he has never avoided being questioned. I still insist that Parliament must also do an inquiry on what the Vice President said, but the result of his allegations were that they have no evidence. But I still think for the purposes of Kuda and others, they must be able to even go to ZAC and police and say, the Vice President is an informer. He talked this about us. We are prepared to be investigated. And I think it's something that I think will make our country better. At the same time, the Vice President too must be able to answer to the allegations of him benefiting from them and from corrupt deals and from being the godfather of the Chinese companies in Zimbabwe. He must also, because once an allegation comes through, the onus is on you. And yes, Violet, I agree with you, and I don't think it's a problem. He took it to the wrong platform. Has he taken it to the police? Has he taken it to the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission? Has he taken it to the Auditor General's office? Has he taken it to the Prosecutor General's office to see if this is a prima facie matter? Can it go before the courts? Because it seems to be something he wanted to weaponize politically to be able to take Kuda out. He sees Kuda as a threat. As you saw, he blocked him the last time from being co-opted into the Politburo. Now Kuda has been co-opted into the Politburo. At the end of the day, the train will never stop. The train continues to move. And if you stand in the way, it will crush you. The Vice President was crushed by a moving train he tried to stop. Kuda has failed.
But Mr. Mliswa, how should the government tackle the issue, the serious issue of corruption amidst, and I'm sorry, I'm coming back to the issue of Mr. Tagwirei, amidst, these allegations that many business leaders in Zimbabwe, like Mr. Tagwirei, grow their wealth through unethical means? And you mentioned that we have all these anti-corruption commissions and other departments, but the general public have lost faith in these institutions and commissions because nothing tangible ever comes out of this, if we are to be truthful about the situation in the country right now regarding these anti-corruption commissions.
I totally agree with you. A country is built through strong institutions, which must be independent. But when you have people like General Chiwenga interfering in those institutions and safeguarding other people, he too has got his own Zganandas. Lishon Chipangu. I say the truth. Lishon Chipangu is his proxy. He has all his companies and so forth. They protect them. These are the very same leaders who have made those institutions worse and unprofessional and incompetent because they're able to pick the phone and say, this guy, I work with him, leave him alone. They interfere. He is also a culprit of interfering. He must stop interfering so that institutions are independent and they are professional. I feel for people who belong to institutions in Zimbabwe because they're always intimidated. They're always, fear is instilled in them. Who will say no to a general? People in Zimbabwe are timid. They are peace-loving people, and they will not respond. Only somebody like me can say it because at the end of the day, it's for national interest. I have to fight for this country, for the future of my children. Whatever happens to me, it's okay. They must know that we had a father who stood up for national interest, sacrificed his life because our generations to come must benefit. We must not have a bull in a china shop.
But, there are others who say that, there's a different kind of politics in the world right now. And if we're to look at Zimbabwe in particular, we know we have all these rich people who are now using money to get into politics, and then lowering the quality of politics and governance issues in the country. What do you say about?
World over, Elon Musk, America, he put money in. He wants to be in politics too. They want to definitely ensure that their investments are protected, they grow, and so forth. There's no businessman who wants to have one shop. They want to have 2, 3 shops. They want to capture the market. That's the instinct of any businessman at the end of the day. But it's how they do it. It's how they do it. Chicken Inn, Nando's, McDonald's, KFC. They want the monopoly of that business. They don't want anybody in. If you're small, they take you out. But what is important is to be able to do the business, to get the business in a proper way. Remember that the cabinet of Zimbabwe, which he sits on, has approved all these businesses which are allegedly corrupt, but he sits in there. But the cabinet has the power to give an unsolicited tender because of an agent issue. Let's say the COVID time, there were vaccines needed and 100 million needed to be paid. Cabinet can sit down and make a decision and it supersedes any other decision. So when it's given to me as a tender, would I have done a wrong thing? Violet, would I have done a wrong thing? Because it certainly supersedes any other law, because cabinet would have sat down and cabinet is there to make decisions which are needed urgently if it's an emergency. So paper trail are the processes that they are using to get money correct or not. How they spend their money has nothing to do with you and me, as long as their money is legit and it's proper. That's what is important, because when I make money, should I consult you how I should spend it? I grew up poor and I always had a dream to have a plane. I go and buy a plane. Source of income is what we must be asking. Lifestyle audit is within the laws of Zimbabwe. That's why I've said these leaders, these businessmen, whoever you suspect, you can always say, can you investigate them? from a lifestyle audit? Source of income, where is it? Declaration of assets, where is it? You know, we have leaders who are corrupt, but who want to pretend that they are not. And that is why I remain stubborn about it and arrogant to say, no, 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 no. Guys, shut up. None of you is clean. You are interfering with institutions which are supposed to investigate, because everybody has got his own Ziganandas. Everyone has got his own Ziganandas.
We will talk about the Ziganandas just now, but I wanted to find out from you if you think ordinary people's voices are being heard when it's all about money right now.
Listen, to me, it's not a secret that our resources are being taken away by the Chinese. The issue of these he mentioned is nothing. The Chinese are on a project, Violet, which is 7.1 trillion, the biggest iron ore deposit. We don't have a penny in it, and our leaders are quiet. We don't have a penny, even a 1% in it. Revenue of 7.1 trillion. We don't have nothing. They don't talk about it.
But whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? Who's in government right now? Who's the president right now?
No, 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 no. It is them. It is the general who is very sympathetic to the Chinese. Was treated.
But why isn't the president doing something about it? How can we keep accusing the general of doing all these things and not also see what the president is failing to do, if indeed he's not involved in these corrupt activities that you're mentioning?
The president is a professional person. Under the vice presidents, they've got certain portfolios, certain ministries. Are you with me? Economic ministries. Are you with me? They are split. Mines is under Chiwenga. Agriculture is under Chiwenga. Do you understand? So that's under his purview. What is he doing about the Chinese coming here? Why is he not talking about it?
But are you telling me that the president is powerless right now? He has no control over Chiwenga just because Chiwenga runs these ministries that you've mentioned?
No, they report to him, and he is their boss. You know, it's like a divisional head.
What is the president doing about these issues that you've raised, that Chiwenga is in charge of the for example, the mining industry, and is the one who's letting the Chinese exploit our resources in the country? What is the President Mnangagwa doing about this? He's the president who's supposed to be in control.
But I think the debate was on Chiwenga succeeding and Tagwirei succeeding. Are they fit enough? So that's why I'm saying Chiwenga is not fit enough, because he can't even deal with the Chinese that are under him. The mines portfolio is under him. He has not said nothing. Zimbabweans are being killed by the Chinese. What has he said? This pains us as traditional leaders. And somebody's paid 6,000 for somebody dying. They are quiet. So he is incapable. He has no capacity to lead the country. Mnangagwa is on his way out. An election is coming. If people are not happy with him, they'll vote him out. The party still has confidence in him because they realize that the other leaders like Chiwenga are not capable.
What do you mean that an election is coming and he's on his way out when this should be his last term, isn't it?
Yes. Mnangagwa, that's why I'm saying 2028 is coming.
Mm. Okay,
yes. So to me, the people will speak, but to show that ZANU-PF has no confidence in Chiwenga, they push for an extension. And that extension had nothing to do with him, but it's a party resolution. So that Violet talks about how people have no confidence in the current leadership in ZANU-PF. That's why Kuda was a threat. That's why now Kuda coming in, they have hope.
But if there's anyone who's calling for an extension, isn't that President Emmerson Mnangagwa? I'm asking this because I think, if I heard correctly in an interview that Jealous Mawarire had just a few days ago, he mentioned that Professor Jonathan Moyo was advocating or written a position paper calling for ED for 2030. What are your views on that?
You see, people like Jonathan Moyo, people like Mawere and myself are not in the structures of ZANU-PF. So when ZANU-PF makes a resolution, we are not there. And ZANU-PF made a resolution themselves, Chiwenga being there, to say we want the term of the president to be extended to 2030. The president has been on record saying, I am not interested. He's focusing on 2028, where people will choose what they want. And I think let's be fair on that. He's been very consistent on that. But the party too has been consistent in saying no. Tete Violet, munogona basa renyu. Saka takuda kuti mupedzise basa nekuti COVID took 2 years away from us, including Cyclone Idai, to finish our programs. So we are doing that and we want you to do it. But you continuously say no. So can you blame the president or the party? Because it's a party resolution. So on that one, we must be fair. It's a ZANU-PF party resolution. It's not the president's resolution. The president is on record and he's been very consistent to say that I don't want an extension. But he belongs to a party. And if the party tells him do this, the party is supreme. He's deployed by the party. They all come through the party. That's why I was saying, Comrade Chiwenga's strength must be in the party, not on social media, not on what others say, but work within the structures of the party, because those are the structures of the party that then elect him to be the ZANU-PF president and first secretary. Then is legible to now stand for elections, for the national elections, for the general elections.
And then earlier on, you mentioned the issue of Zviganandas. And you said there are Zviganandas in the Chiwenga faction. And of course, there are Zviganandas in the Mnangagwa faction. So both sides have issues of corruption. And I come back to that earlier question that do you think ZANU-PF has a lasting solution that can deal with corruption, especially as the presidium is implicated and the factions are accusing each other?
You see, I would not, that's a very good question, but I would answer and say, I don't know if Mnangagwa has got a faction because he's leading. You can only have a faction if you're not leading. You see, in your home, there's only one mother, that's you. If they decide to go for that's them, but there's only one mother, there's one father. Are you with me? But if you decide to make somebody your mother and father, then that's your own issue. So he has no competition with anyone. First of all, the president is not competing with anyone, but there are people trying to compete with the president. And that's where you heard in that report from Honorable Zambizem that he must be careful that he's committing treason, because you cannot run a parallel government. And take note of it. Treason is not a joke. It's life in prison. You are wanting to undermine a president who's elected. You are wanting to undermine a government which is elected. That's why a coup will never happen in Zimbabwe, because a coup is about you getting into power. No one would do a coup if they were not going to go into power themselves, because it's treasonous. And no one will accept a government which has been taken over through a coup, no matter what.
What do you mean there was a coup has never happened in Zimbabwe? So what happened in November 2017, December 2017? Wasn't that a coup?
No. Listen, the late Morgan Tsvangirai marched, Nelson Chamisa marched, okay? And there was no coup whatsoever. The people, the war veterans had started working on it long before. I was part of the team. I was independent, talking to political parties so that we could have a national consensus. That national consensus was about the people. The army is the army of the people. They marched with the people. They joined. They did not start it. The soldiers were not the first on the streets. It was the people who were first on the streets.
So what was coup. What was Restore Legacy all about then if the army wasn't part of this and if there wasn't a coup?
No, we went to court. Remember, there's a judgment which said it was not a coup. So that's why I'm also standing on that. The courts of this country did say it was not a coup, and there is a judgment on that. And it would be unfair for us to argue on a matter which went through the courts, and the court said there was no coup.
Okay,
and no one appealed.
But you also mentioned that it was not a coup because the opposition even participated, and I clearly remember after the 2018 elections. I think some of the opposition leaders are on record saying Takaitis we were used.
That is true. I'm also a victim. Womunhu akaitiswawo handina kupiwa basa. Ndafunga chapiwa basa a minister ndiri independent. I had hoped that the opposition to be incorporated in government. I've always said that. It was unfair because we all said a new Zimbabwe starting and we all wanted Mnangagwa in. Everybody knew Mnangagwa was coming in. Chamisa endorsed Mnangagwa. Tsangira endorsed Mnangagwa. The army did not endorse Mnangagwa. Politicians endorsed Mnangagwa. And they knew Mnangagwa was the right person. And we all went for Mnangagwa. That is the truth. Everybody who marched, okay? And those who want to go to heaven must say this. It was the truth. Feelings after is different. Takaenda tested chidati dear Dzok, Ngwena Dzok. That's why when he came back, there was a rousing welcome. That's why we went to Highfield. That's why we were together and so forth. But in India Kashanda, the same way I'm working now, I don't expect anything but wakapiwa wacho hapana zvavakaita. Masoja vakabva vamhanya kunotambira president. Maoperations vakabviswa. Ipo pakatanga kunyepera president kuti yakashanda and so forth. And I hope the president also has time to reflect that some of the people around him were not there in the beginning. It was important that the president incorporated, embraced, and it was important the president exercised inclusivity at that time. That and also recognize the opposition leaders that participated, and it was going to be good to them being part of the government. Are you with me? Because they did participate genuinely, and they believed in him, and they believed in the change. Are you with me? Unfortunately, I think other people hijacked the whole thing. The army started being in the forefront when he arrived at the airport and took over. If there's anything, the army actually ambushed the president at the airport. It's as if they took over and then they were in charge of a number of issues. They were now chairing joke, in the provinces. It was the police who used to chair. CIO was critical and so forth, you know, and all that. If you remember, behind the president, it was a police officer would stand behind him. Remember, in the olden days, but it was the army now behind him. So I think that is what probably led to a lot of things, And I think being the president, being listening, he took some advice from them, but again, it left out a number of key people who really participated, who sacrificed. I'm one of them. That's why I talk about it. That's why I was there. I assisted in the formation. I was tweeting. SBMO, you're giving me information. Kuda Tagwirei funded it all and everything. So for you to now forget such people, Nelson Chamisa, Trangirai was there. He was not feeling well, but he gave his blessing, which was a great thing for the unity of this country. There was no better goodwill for Zimbabwe than that. But people who were not politicians then went and made their contributions, and they were not in the scene. Today, that the very same people are giving him problems, and we're also now fighting them again.
And I just want to hear your views on this whole issue of Ziganandas, because some people even say that accuse you of being a Zigananda. So, what can you say about that? And
First of
even
all,
mm,
first of all, what is it? What is it I have? What is it have you seen of me on social media which shows that I'm rich? You tell me,
others,
have you ever seen my house? Have you ever seen my car? Have you ever seen anything? What is it? I made my money through tobacco. For the first time, I would declare how I made my money. I made my money through tobacco, 2006. Okay, I was empowered by the government. I controlled 10% of the tobacco crop in the country, the first black. I made my money. I made a couple millions. I invested. I'm a good farmer myself. I make money from farming. I'm a consultant, a political consultant, a sports consultant, a business consultant. I also consult families who are fighting. though I'm not married, but they always see me as an independent person to make sure that they are together. I make money through all those avenues, but I'll not go on top of a mountain and tell people what I do. I've been an independent politician using my own money, not the party money. These guys are sponsored by the party. Twice I've been an independent politician using my own money. I can account for whatever I have.
You've just said that you also consult families, even though you're not married. So how do you address criticisms regarding your personal life and its impact on your public image, especially with regard to your family?
It's a choice to marry. It's a choice not to marry. It's a choice to have children as adults and to have children and not to marry. So respect the choice that one makes. Secondly, that those who are married, are they happy? The institution of marriage is sacred. And I'm somebody who's honest. I'm somebody who wants to be faithful. And when I decide that I'll marry, I want my wife to be happy, and I want to be the only person, and she must be the only person that I love and I do things with. That time is coming. For now, the children are happy, their mothers are happy. I'm a responsible father, and we have discussed as adults that I want to have a child, Temba. Yes, me too. We go for tests. HIV tests, we go for them. We will wait for the right time to have the baby. We have the baby. I'm responsible for the child. I do the rituals that have got to done, the traditional visa damage and so forth. I've been married before. I think I was young. I was not ready, and I never wanted to hurt Mwanwaridi. There's no woman I was married to who did anything wrong, just that I was not ready. I was young, and I'm waiting to grow. I'm still growing. But for now, the children I have are children that we all wanted to have.
And of course, these are your personal choices. But I guess some people ask that what example are you setting for young people when you admit that you have 20 children with multiple partners, even
My
about
kids, my kids know me. My kids know me as a hardworking father, a loving father, an honest father. My kids have never grown up in a home where they've heard me and their mothers shouting. These kids who are coming from married backgrounds where their fathers and mother married, there's more havoc and more destruction for the lives of those kids. They come to me, they tell me, they see their father being abused by the mother. They see the mother being abused by the father. They don't see that in my family.
Mm.
They're
And
growing better, and they'll make the right decisions in their lives.
your final thoughts on what you see happening going forward, given the results of the just ended ZANU-PF conference.
The people spoke. There was an overwhelming support and appreciation of Kuda Tagwirei. The house was unstoppable in terms of the noise, and it was the biggest noise ever. And the support of Kuda Tagwirei today showed that he's the person that they want to take over ZANU-PF when President Mnangagwa, sorry, decides to 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 think step down. So I think he's stepping down is very clear. 2028 elections, and there's going to be a Congress 2027, which will elect the new leader. So to me, it's pretty clear that Chiwenga is out of the race. The people are now moving with Kuda Tagwirei. He's young, he's energetic, he's business minded, and is very religious. Seventh day. That's also important for any leader, for people to know that is this person a Christian or not, and he understands the Zimbabwean economic landscape, which is important. And I think it's a generational consensus which no one can fight. It is a wind which is blowing, and if you stand in the way, it will blow you away. And that's what has happened. It is, and you can't, and he has to accept that. The general has got to accept that. He's got to appreciate him being appointed as vice president without an election. He's never been in an election before, even as a councillor, as an EMP, and and then as a president. That noise that they made today, welcoming Kuda Tagwirei, you could see Chris Mtsangwa also hugging him, and I'm sure he was whispering in his ears that, "Can I be your vice president?"
Hello.
I said, I'm sure
We,
Chris Mtsangwa was saying, "I'm going to be your vice president. Can I be your vice president?"
oh,
Because we don't want that thing generation again. No, 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 no. ZANU-PF doesn't want that generation. The last is Mnangagwa. President Mnangagwa is the last.
you mean he's the last liberator to lead Zimbabwe? Is that what you mean?
Yes, and yes, he is. And
But
age-wise,
when you say the streets have accepted this, have they really? Because you have the likes of war veteran Blessed Geza, calling on the masses to take to the streets in the Million Man marches and other protests.
but the problem with that, those matches have never happened. He's been misled. He's been naive. He must be strong in the ZANU-PF structures. Tagwirei is strong in the ZANU-PF structures. You cannot be a politician and deny people food or a car. What alternative are you giving them? You've got to understand that. You've got to. That's where I've said ZANU-PF has understood the art of politics, the art of winning elections. The opposition hasn't. And it's about resources. Any ruling party will create its own billionaires to support them. And those billionaires will support the party. And they'll also want to lead the party. South Africa, again, Patrice Motsepe is one who's coming through as a business person. So it is the trend which you cannot stop, So to me, I think, the people have spoken, and the vice president blocked it, but at the end, he lost.
So, Mr. Mliswa, with what you've told us about the outcome of the ZANU-PF Congress, and you were saying people were cheering for Kuda Tagwirei, what was the reaction from the Vice President, Chiwenga? And do you think this is it for him? This is the end of the line for him?
It is. Like they say, it is cold out there. I think Professor Moyo and myself, those who are out of ZANU-PF, know how cold it is. What is important right now is that the people who support the president, and that's the party, don't want Chiwenga anymore, because the way he treated the president, the way he failed to respect the president, and the way he was power hungry, the way he gave all the glory to himself, they were not happy. That's why in the Politburo, they went for him. He was on his own. And the only way for him would be to resign. Because if he fails to resign, it's going to be very difficult. They've already indicated that, there's aspect of treason in undermining the president and the government. At the same time, the president has also seen that people are saying, President, he must go. The same way the same people saying you must stay, President, we want to, are the same people who must say he must go. At some point, he has to listen to the people. He had his own faction in there, which must also go with him. You see, that is the tricky bit about politics at the end of the day. And unfortunately, they don't want the kind-heartedness of the president at this juncture. They want the president to do what the people want, what is good for the party, because people have sacrificed themselves. And they feel that if he's kept in the party, he will regain and come back and also do damage to those people and to the party. Those are the rules of politics. When you failed, resign. If you continue to fight, they'll take you out.
Thank you very much, Mr. Temba Mliswa, for talking to us on the program Hot Seat. And we hope to invite you again on the program to dissect the unfolding events in Zimbabwe, especially what's happening in the ruling ZANU-PF party. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've been watching The Hot Seat with Violet Gonda. For more programs like these, follow at Violet Gonda on Twitter and YouTube, or visit www.violetgonda.co.uk.